Commander Ji-wan stood in the massive hall of the Galactic Council, trying her best to look nervous. It wasn't hard to pretend. The hall was enormous, bigger than 10 football stadiums put together. 5 different alien species sat on high platforms, looking down at her like she was an insect. The Thalorians were the worst. They had 4 arms and gray skin that looked like stone. Their leader, Speaker Vector, stared at her with cold yellow eyes. Ji-wan wore a simple diplomatic uniform. She kept her hands folded and her head down. The council members talked among themselves in their own languages, laughing occasionally. They weren't even trying to hide their contempt. Earth had been allowed into the galactic community only 3 years ago, and these aliens made it clear every day that humans were not welcome. Speaker Vector finally addressed her. His voice came through the translation device in her ear. Human representative, the Council has reached a decision regarding your species. You will surrender 70% of your military vessels to our oversight. You will allow Council inspectors to monitor all your technological development. And you will provide 40% of Earth's resources as tribute for the privilege of membership. Ji-wan let her voice shake just a little. That's a lot, honored speaker. May we have time to prepare? The council chamber filled with laughter. A Relian delegate, who looked like a giant mantis, clicked its mandibles. Prepare? You primitives have nothing worth keeping. 6 months. That's generous. Vector waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. No, 3 months. If Earth refuses, we will take what we need by force. Your planet has resources we require. Whether you cooperate or not is irrelevant to us. Ji-wan bowed deeply, fighting the urge to smile. 3 months. We will comply, honored council. Thank you for your mercy. As she left the chamber, Ji-wan allowed herself a tiny grin. They had no idea what was coming. High above the council hall, invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed, Captain Minho watched from his ship. The Silent Observer was Earth's most advanced stealth vessel. It didn't just hide its heat signature or radar profile like the primitive cloaking technology other species used. Earth had developed true invisibility. The ship bent light and gravity around itself. Becoming a ghost in space. Minho recorded everything happening in the council chamber. His communications officer, Lieutenant Sora, looked worried. Captain, they're planning to strip our planet bare. Should we warn Earth? Minho shook his head. Earth already knows, Sora. Admiral Haijin has been expecting this. Let's get this recording back home. The Admiral will want to see their faces when they threatened us. The Silent Observer slipped away from the council station without making a sound. 3 days later, Minho delivered his report in person to Earth's Strategic Command. Buried deep under the Himalayan mountains, Admiral Haijin watched the recording 3 times. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around the conference table sat Earth's top military commanders and President Bayan himself. The room was silent except for the playback of Vector's ultimatum. When it finished, President Bayan spoke. 3 months. They're giving us 3 months to surrender. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Do they know? Haijin shook her head. No, Mr. President. Our intelligence confirms they believe we have approximately 200 warships. They think our weapons are primitive plasma cannons. They have no idea about the true size of our fleet or our weapons capabilities. Colonel Seojun, the chief weapons engineer, pulled up a holographic display. Our actual military strength stands at 15,000 combat vessels. We have railguns that can pierce any known shielding. We have antimatter weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, and AI-controlled drone swarms. The Council's technology hasn't advanced in 300 years because they've been at peace. They're soft, and they have no idea humans are good at war, added Captain Minho. My stealth ships have mapped every Council military installation across 12 star systems. Their defense stations are barely manned. Their warships are for show. Most of their soldiers have never seen real combat. President Doyon stood and walked to the window overlooking the command center. Thousands of analysts and officers worked at their stations below, monitoring Earth's hidden fleet. How long have we been preparing for this? Haijin answered immediately. 20 years, sir. Since first contact, we learned everything we could about the Council. We built our fleet in secret. We developed weapons they can't defend against. We infiltrated their computer networks. We're ready. The plan? Doyon asked. Operation Terran Fury, Haijin said. Simultaneous strikes on 12 primary targets. We hit their military headquarters, their communications hubs, their shipyards, and their command stations. All at once. We decapitate their leadership before they know we're at war. Then we occupy their key worlds and force a surrender. Doyon was quiet for a long moment. Casualties? On their side? High. Maybe 300 million across all targets. On our side, we estimate 8 to 10% losses. It's a first strike, Mr. President. We'll have complete surprise. And the moral cost? Doyon asked quietly. Haijin's face was stone. We do this, or in 10 years, Earth is a strip-mined wasteland, and humanity is extinct or enslaved. Our intelligence found their real plans, sir. They were never going to let us exist as equals. We're just resources to them. Animals. President Doyon turned back to face the room. His face was tired but determined. Then we show them what animals can do when cornered. Authorize Operation Terran Fury. Begin deployment immediately. And may God forgive us for what we're about to do. The room erupted into activity. Officers rushed to their stations. Communication channels opened across the solar system and beyond, sending coded messages to fleet commanders waiting in the darkness of space. Back at the Council station, Commander Ji-Wan played her role perfectly. She met with various Council delegates, asking nervous questions about the surrender process. She requested detailed instructions on how Earth should dismantle its military. She even asked if the Council would help protect Earth from dangerous neighbors. Once they were defenseless, the Council ate it up. They saw exactly what they wanted to see. A frightened primitive species begging for mercy. They had no idea that while Ji-Wan asked her innocent questions, her personal AI was copying every security code, every star chart, every military communication that passed through the station. At night, alone in her quarters, Ji-Wan allowed herself to drop the act. She pulled up a secure channel to Admiral Haijin. They bought it completely. The Council thinks we're terrified. Haijin's face appeared on the screen. Good work, Commander. We're moving the fleets into position now. 20 stealth ships are already in Council space. When we strike, it'll be like lightning. They won't know what hit them. How long? Ji-Wan asked. 72 days. Then Earth shows the galaxy what we really are. Ji-Wan smiled. It was not a kind smile. I almost feel sorry for them. Don't, Haijin said coldly. They were going to destroy us. Remember that. When the shooting starts, remember what they plan to do to Earth. No mercy, Commander. Not for any of them. The transmission ended. Ji-Wan sat in the darkness of her quarters, thinking about what was coming. In 72 days, the galaxy would change forever. The Council thought humanity was weak. They thought Earth would surrender quietly. They were wrong. Earth was about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Predators should never mistake patience for weakness. And they should never, ever threaten humanity's survival. The countdown had begun. Captain Minho's stealth ship drifted through the darkness between stars. The silent observer was on its 15th reconnaissance mission, deep in Council territory. His crew had been living in near silence for 2 weeks, using minimal power to avoid detection. But it was worth it. They had discovered something important. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Sora from the sensor station, "I'm reading the Thalorian Third Fleet staging area. Distance, 200,000 kilometers." Minho moved to her station and studied the display. 300 Thalorian warships floated in formation around a massive supply depot. The ships were huge, each one 3 times the size of Earth's largest carrier. Their hulls gleamed with silver plating, and energy shields shimmered around them. "They look impressive," Sora said quietly. Minho smiled. "They look like targets. Scan their weapon systems. I want to know everything." 20 minutes later, Sora had her report. "Captain, these ships are equipped with plasma cannons and missile systems. Standard Council technology. But their reactors are running at only 30% capacity. And I'm detecting minimal crew signatures. One thinks most of these ships are barely manned. Because they haven't fought a real war in 3 centuries, Minho said. These are parade ships. Beautiful, but useless. Mark this location. When Operation Terran Fury begins, Admiral Hygiene will want to know exactly where their Third Fleet is sleeping." The silent observer moved on, mapping another target for the coming war. Back on Earth, Colonel Seojun stood in the weapons testing facility buried under the Australian outback. In front of him, engineers were loading a Shatterstrike missile into a test chamber. The missile was 6 meters long and looked simple, almost crude compared to the sleek designs the Council used. "Colonel, we're ready for the test," said Dr. Myray, the lead physicist. Seojun nodded. "Fire when ready." The missile launched into the test chamber, which contained a mock-up of a Council defense station. The missile approached the target, then activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself seemed to twist. The defense station crumpled like paper in a fist, its hull tearing apart as artificial gravity pulled it inward from every direction. In 15 seconds, the entire structure was reduced to a ball of compacted metal no bigger than a car. "My God," breathed Seojun. "How many of these do we have?" 5,000, Dr. Myray said. "Each one can destroy a capital ship or a space station? The Council has no defense against localized gravity manipulation. They don't even know it's possible." Seojun watched the test replay 3 times. "When we use these, the Council will think we broke physics itself. Good. Fear is a weapon, too." On the Thalorian homeworld, Council Military Overseer Krethix reviewed reports in his comfortable office. He was bored. For 300 years, his job had been mostly ceremonial. The Council controlled the galaxy through economic power and diplomatic pressure, not warfare. Military threats were rare, and usually handled with a show of force. An aide brought him a data tablet. "Sir, border stations are reporting unusual sensor readings near the outer rim. Possible stealth vessels." Krethix barely glanced at it. "Probably just sensor glitches. Or maybe pirates testing new technology. File a report and forget about it." "But sir, the readings are consistent with—" "Enough," Krethix interrupted. "The only new species in our space is humanity, and they're primitives with barely 200 ships. Do you think they have stealth technology we can't detect? File the report and stop wasting my time." The aide left. Krethix returned to planning the upcoming military parade. He never thought about the sensor readings again. It was the last mistake he would ever make. Commander Jiwan sat in a dark bar on the Council station, meeting someone she wasn't supposed to meet. Across from her sat Thrinak, a Vakari resistance leader. The Vakari had been conquered by the Council 50 years ago and forced to work as laborers. They hated their masters. "You understand the risk we're taking?" Thrinak asked quietly. His species looked like bipedal wolves, covered in gray fur. I do, Jiwan said. When Earth strikes, your people rise up. You take control of planetary shields and communication hubs. In exchange, Earth recognizes Vakari independence and provides you with weapons technology. Threnek's eyes gleamed. And you're certain Earth can win? Jiwan leaned forward. In 70 days, the Council will cease to exist. I promise you that. Be ready. They shook hands. It was the beginning of a partnership that would free the Vakari and doom the Council. Lieutenant Yunji sat in the briefing room of the carrier Indomitable, listening to her squadron commander explain their mission. She was a fighter pilot, one of the best in Earth's fleet. Around her, 40 other pilots listened intently. Our target is the Felorian Orbital Defense Network, the commander said, pointing to a holographic display. 300 defense platforms protect their homeworld. Our job is to break through and destroy them. The main fleet will handle their warships. We clear the way. Yunji raised her hand. Sir, 300 platforms. We have 40 fighters in this squadron. Those aren't good odds. The commander smiled grimly. We're not alone. 800 Earth warships will be with us, plus 2,000 drone fighters. The odds are actually in our favor. But I won't lie to you. Some of us won't come back. This is what we trained for. That night, Yunji wrote a letter to her family. She didn't know if she would survive the coming battle. She wrote about why she joined the military, about her love for Earth, about her hope that humanity would never have to bow to anyone. She sealed the letter and marked it to be delivered only if she died. Admiral Hygiene stood in Earth's main war room, watching the deployment board. Green lights indicated fleet positions across hundreds of light years. Each light represented hundreds of ships and thousands of soldiers, all moving silently into position. President Doyan stood beside her. How many people know the full scope of this operation? Maybe 100, Hygiene said. Everyone else knows only their piece of the puzzle. Security has been absolute. The Council has no idea what's coming. And our people? Are they ready for this? Hygiene turned to face him. Mr. President, our soldiers know what the Council planned for Earth. They know this is survival. Yes, they're ready. They'll do whatever it takes. Doyan nodded slowly. I keep thinking about the casualties. 300 million. That's more people than died in all of Earth's wars combined. It's them or us, Hygiene said without emotion. The Council made that choice when they decided to threaten Earth. We're just responding. I know, Doyan said quietly. I just hope history judges us kindly. History is written by winners, Hygiene replied. And we're going to win. Across the galaxy, Earth's forces moved into final positions. Stealth ships hid in the empty spaces between planets, their crews waiting in silent tension. Carrier groups held position just outside Council sensor range, ready to jump to light speed on command. Fighter pilots ran final checks on their craft. Marines loaded weapons and reviewed assault plans. And in the heart of the Felorian Empire, Speaker Vector held a celebration. The Council had received Earth's formal acceptance of their terms. In 70 days, humanity would begin surrendering their pathetic fleet and their resources. Vector raised a glass of expensive wine and toasted the Council's wisdom. He had no idea that at that exact moment, 15,000 Earth warships were surrounding his empire like a noose. He had no idea that humanity had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. He had no idea that in 70 days, his world would be in flames and his empire would be broken. Commander Jaiwan attended the celebration, playing her role as the defeated human diplomat. She smiled and accepted the Council's condescending congratulations. Inside, she counted down the hours until Operation Terran Fury would begin. Captain Minnow completed his final reconnaissance mission and began the long journey back to Earth space. His data chips contained the exact positions of every Council military asset, every weakness in their defenses, every vulnerability in their networks. Colonel Seojon watched another successful test of Earth's antimatter torpedoes. Each one could vaporize a city. Earth had 10,000 of them. Lieutenant Yoonji flew practice runs in her fighter, memorizing attack patterns and emergency procedures. She was ready to die for Earth if necessary. The countdown continued. 60 days. 50 days. 40 days. Earth's forces tightened their grip around the unsuspecting Council like a predator preparing to strike. The galaxy had been at peace for 300 years. That peace was about to end in fire and blood. And the Council, who had laughed at humanity's weakness, would soon learn the truth. Earth wasn't weak. Earth had been waiting. And now, Earth was ready to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of when survival was on the line. The hammer was raised. Soon it would fall. The clock in Earth's strategic command showed 0359, Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Hai-Jin stood with her hands behind her back, watching the countdown timer. Around her, 300 officers sat at their stations in absolute silence. President Doyan stood beside her, his face pale but determined. All strike groups report ready, a communications officer said quietly. Hai-Jin looked at President Doyan. This was the moment. Once she gave the order, there was no going back. Hundreds of millions would die. The galaxy would never be the same. Doyan nodded once. Execute Operation Terran Fury, Hai-Jin said. All units, weapons free. At exactly 0400, 12 simultaneous attacks began across 400 light-years of space. Captain Minho's silent observer dropped its cloak directly above the Council's military headquarters station. For 3 years, this stealth ship had been invisible. Now, for just a moment, it revealed itself. The Council's sensors screamed warnings, but it was already too late. Minho pressed the firing button. Shatter strike away. All power to engines. Get us out of here. The missile covered the distance to the headquarters station in 8 seconds. When it detonated, space itself twisted. The massive station, home to 2,000 Council military officers, crumpled like an aluminum can in a vise. Escape pods tried to launch, but were caught in the gravity well and crushed. The entire structure collapsed into a sphere of compacted metal and bodies no bigger than a house. Target destroyed, reported Lieutenant Sora. No survivors. Minho felt nothing. These were the people who planned to enslave Earth. Jump to secondary target. Let's keep moving. At the Thalorian homeworld, Admiral Hai-Jin herself led the assault. 800 Earth warships emerged from light speed at point-blank range, so close to the orbital defense platforms that the Thalorians didn't have time to react. It should have been impossible. The Council's safety systems prevented such dangerous jumps. But Earth had removed those safety limits years ago. All ships open fire, Hai-Jin commanded. The sky above the Thalorian homeworld lit up like 1,000 suns. Railguns fired solid metal slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. Each impact released the energy of a nuclear bomb. In the first 10 seconds, 180 defense platforms were simply erased from existence. The Thalorian defense fleet scrambled to respond. 300 warships, the pride of the Council's military, powered up their engines and raised their shields. They had never fought a real battle before, but they were brave and determined. It didn't matter. Earth's drone swarms fell on them like locusts. 2,000 AI-controlled fighters moved in perfect coordination, targeting weak points that human pilots had identified during years of reconnaissance. The drones didn't fear death because they couldn't die. They simply calculated the most efficient way to destroy their targets. A Thalorian cruiser fired its plasma cannons at the drone swarm. The beams destroyed 3 drones. The remaining 1,700 adjusted their tactics and swarmed the cruiser, each one firing armor-piercing rounds into the same weak point until the ship's hull buckled and atmosphere vented into space. "Sir, the Thalorian fleet is breaking formation," reported the tactical officer. "They're trying to retreat." "Pursue and destroy," Hygiene said coldly. "No survivors. No witnesses." On 23 Council worlds, the Vakari uprising began. Threnek led his fighters through the streets of Kelmer III, armed with weapons that Commander Jiwan's people had smuggled in over the past 2 months. They moved from building to building, seizing control of shield generators and power stations. The Council garrison tried to respond, but they were unprepared. They had treated the Vakari as slaves for 50 years, never imagining they would fight back. The garrison commander called for reinforcements, but the communication networks were already down. Earth's cyber warfare teams had infiltrated Council systems months ago and now activated their viruses. Across the sector, military communications went dark. Threnek and his team reached the governor's palace. They kicked down the door and found Governor Meltos trying to flee. The governor raised his hands in surrender, but Threnek had waited 50 years for this moment. He pulled the trigger. Meltos fell, and the Vakari cheered. "Broadcast our message," Threnek ordered. "Tell every Vakari we're free. The Council's power is broken. Today we take back our worlds." Speaker Vector was in his private chambers when the alarms began. At first, he thought it was a drill. The Council had drills twice a year, just to keep the military alert. Then his aide burst through the door, face pale with terror. "Sir, we're under attack. The military headquarters is destroyed. The Thalorian homeworld is under siege. Reports are coming in from 12 systems. It's Earth. The humans are attacking us." Vector stared at him. "That's impossible. Earth has 200 ships. They're primitives. Sir, our sensors are reading over 800 ships at Thalorian Prime alone. And they're using weapons we've never seen before. Our defense platforms are being destroyed faster than we can count them. The Thalorian fleet is being massacred." Vector's mind couldn't process it. How? How had the humans hidden such a fleet? How had they developed such weapons? He stumbled to his command center and saw the tactical displays. Red lights everywhere. Warning symbols covered the screens. Casualty reports scrolled past too fast to read. "Order all fleets to converge on Thalorian Prime," he shouted. "We'll crush them with numbers." His military advisor shook his head. "Sir, communications are down across half our territory. We can't reach most of our fleets. And the ones we can reach report that they're under attack by human stealth ships. They're fighting blind." Colonel Siajun led the assault on Station Omega, the Council's secret research facility. Intelligence had reported that the Council was developing biological weapons here, including a plague designed specifically to kill humans. Siojin's Marines breached the station in 3 places, pushing through corridors filled with desperate defenders. The Council had one real military force, the Raxian shock troops. Genetically engineered for combat, each Raxian was 7 feet tall, incredibly strong, and trained from birth to fight. 50 Raxians defended Station Omega, and they were everything the reports claimed. The battle was brutal. Raxians used energy weapons that cut through armor like paper. They moved with superhuman speed and fought with savage efficiency. Earth's Marines died by the dozen, but they kept pushing forward. Co. Jun personally led the final assault on the main laboratory. A Raxian commander met him in single combat, and Siajun barely survived, taking a blast to the shoulder that burned through his armor. But he managed to shoot the Raxian in the head, ending the fight. Inside the lab, Siajun found what intelligence had reported: vials of plague virus, designed to kill humans while leaving other species unharmed. There were also detailed plans for releasing it on Earth's major cities. 10 billion people would have died. Siajun stared at the evidence, feeling cold rage wash over him. Set demolition charges. Everyone out. We're destroying this entire station. Sir, there are still civilians here. Science staff, said one of his Marines. They made a plague to kill our families, Siajun said. Plant the charges. That's an order. 5 minutes later, Station Omega exploded in a ball of nuclear fire. 300 people died in the blast, most of them civilians. Siajan watched it burn and felt no guilt. They had planned genocide. They got mercy they didn't deserve. A quick death. Lieutenant Yunji's fighter squadron screamed through space, dodging fire from the few remaining Thalorian defense platforms. Her orders were simple: destroy anything that moved. Her squadron had already taken down 10 platforms, but they had lost 6 fighters doing it. Her targeting computer identified a transport ship fleeing the system, trying to escape the battle. According to her scans, it was a civilian vessel carrying 500 passengers. Standard rules of engagement said to let it go, but Admiral Haijin's orders had been clear. No one escapes. No one carries word of Earth's attack to other systems. Complete surprise was essential. Yunji locked onto the transport and fired. Her missiles streaked across space and impacted the ship's engines. It exploded in a flash of light, killing everyone aboard instantly. Transport destroyed, she reported mechanically. Good kill, Red 7, her squadron commander responded. Continue your sweep. Yunji felt nothing. She was supposed to feel something, wasn't she? Guilt? Horror? But all she felt was cold purpose. These people were the enemy. The enemy had planned to destroy Earth, so the enemy had to die. All of them. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Earth's forces struck with overwhelming violence and precision. Military installations were vaporized. Shipyards exploded in chain reactions that could be seen from neighboring star systems. Fuel depots became miniature suns. Communication hubs went dark. The Council tried to coordinate a response, but they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Earth's cyber warfare had crippled their networks. Earth's stealth ships attacked from impossible angles. Earth's weapons used physics the Council thought were theoretical dot in 12 hours. The Council lost 60% of their military strength. 30 million soldiers died. 300 million civilians died in the crossfire or from infrastructure collapse. The galaxy's dominant power for 3 centuries was brought to its knees in half a day dot in Earth's command center. Admiral Haijin watched the casualty reports scroll past. 300 million dead. The number was almost too large to comprehend. But she felt no remorse. The Council had planned to strip Earth of resources and kill any humans who resisted. This was survival. This was justice. All primary objectives secured, reported the communications officer. Enemy resistance is collapsing across all fronts. We've lost 8% of our forces, well within projected casualties. President Doyon looked sick. So many dead. Yes, sir, Haijin said. But Earth lives. Humanity survives. That's what matters. Doyon nodded slowly. He looked older suddenly, as if the weight of 300 million deaths had aged him years and hours. What now? Now we occupy their key worlds, Haijin said. We show them what happens when you threaten Earth, and we make sure no one ever threatens us again. 3 weeks after the initial strikes, Captain Minho's stealth ships patrolled Council space openly. There was no point hiding anymore. The Council knew Earth had stealth technology now, but that knowledge didn't help them. Minho's ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts, keeping the broken Council forces off balance and afraid. Captain, we're detecting a Council patrol ship in Sector 7, reported Lieutenant Sora. They're requesting identification. Minho smiled coldly. Drop cloak. Let them see us. Then disappear again. I want them to know we're watching. Always watching. The silent observer flickered into view for exactly 5 seconds. Close enough that the Council patrol could see every detail of Earth's warship. Then it vanished again. Minho listened to the panicked communications from the patrol ship, their crew terrified that Earth might attack. But he left them alone. Fear was more useful than another wreck floating in space. On the Thalorian homeworld, Colonel Seojun walked through the halls of the governor's palace, which was now military headquarters for Earth's occupation forces. The planet's leaders sat in a waiting room, looking nervous and defeated. Seojun had called them here to explain the new reality. Gentlemen, Seojun said as he entered the room, I am now the military governor of Thalorian Prime. Your old government is dissolved. You will follow Earth's orders, or you will be replaced. Is this clear? An elderly Thalorian named Kareth stood up, his 4 arms trembling with anger. You have no right. We are a sovereign species. The Council will. The Council is broken, Seojun interrupted. They lost the war in 12 hours. Right now, Earth has occupation forces on all 12 of your major worlds. We control your communications, your defenses, and your economy. You have 2 choices: cooperate and live, or resist and die. Which do you prefer? Kareth sat down, defeated. The message was clear. Earth held all the power now. Commander G1 no longer needed to play the frightened diplomat. She broadcast a message across all Council communication networks, peering in her full military uniform with Earth's flag behind her. Her voice was cold and clear. People of the former Galactic Council, this is Commander G1 of Earth's diplomatic corps. Your leaders demanded our submission. They threatened to strip our world bare. They planned to enslave or eliminate humanity. We have provided our answer. The Council is dissolved. All member species will receive independence, but Earth will maintain military oversight to ensure peace. You have 72 hours to accept these terms. Any species that refuses will be considered hostile. Resistance will be met with total destruction. The choice is yours. On the Relian homeworld, the government held an emergency session. The Relians were merchants and traders, practical people who understood power. Their prime minister stood before the assembly. The Council is finished, he said bluntly. Earth demonstrated military superiority beyond anything we imagined. Fighting them would be suicide. I propose we accept Earth's terms immediately and seek favorable trade agreements. The humans seem to respect those who surrender quickly. The vote was unanimous. The Relians became the first Council species to formally submit to Earth's authority. Within days, Relian merchants were already negotiating trade deals with Earth companies, trying to profit from the new order, but not everyone accepted defeat so easily. The Gorvan species were warriors, proud and fierce. They refused Earth's ultimatum and launched an ambush on an Earth supply convoy near their territory. They destroyed 3 cargo ships, killing 200 human crew members. Admiral Hygiene's response was immediate and terrible. She redirected the battle carrier Vengeance to the Gorvan homeworld with one simple order: make an example. The Vengeance entered orbit above the Gorvan capital city. Warning messages were broadcast, giving civilians 30 minutes to evacuate. Many tried to flee, but 30 minutes wasn't enough. Then the bombardment began. Kinetic rods fell from orbit, each one a telephone pole of solid metal moving at orbital speeds. When they hit, they released the energy of nuclear weapons without the radiation. The first rod hit the planetary defense headquarters, turning it into a crater half a mile wide. The second hit the central government complex. The third hit the main spaceport dot for 6 hours. The bombardment continued. Military bases, industrial centers, communication hubs, power plants, all were systematically destroyed. Fires raged across the capital. 50 million Gorvan died, most of them civilians caught in their homes or trying to flee. The next day, the Gorvan leadership surrendered unconditionally. They agreed to every single one of Earth's demands and begged for mercy. Admiral Haijin accepted their surrender, but stationed a permanent occupation force on their world. The message to the rest of the galaxy was clear: resist Earth, and entire cities die. Lieutenant Yunji had been promoted to squadron commander after her actions during the initial strikes. Now she flew pacification missions, hunting down resistance groups that continued to fight Earth's occupation. Her squadron operated in the Kelthros sector, where several species had formed a resistance movement. Intelligence officer Lieutenant Junho briefed her before a mission. "We have reports of a resistance cell hiding in the Telvin district on Kelthros Prime. Estimated strength, 200 fighters. They've been attacking our supply convoys." Yunji studied the tactical map. The Telvin district has a population of 8,000 civilians, mostly families and merchants. If we hit the resistance cell, there will be massive collateral damage. Junho nodded. Standing orders are to eliminate resistance threats by any means necessary. Yunji felt something twist in her stomach. She had killed before. She had destroyed the civilian transport during the first battle. But that was during combat, in the heat of war. This was different. This was deliberately bombing a civilian area. "Target the entire district," she ordered. "Fighter bombers will level it in 3 passes. Any resistance fighters there will die, and the message will be clear to any other groups thinking about attacking us." Junho looked uncomfortable. "Commander, 8,000 civilians. That's a lot of innocent people." Yunji's face was cold. "There are no innocents. These people support the resistance by hiding them, feeding them, sheltering them. They made their choice. Launch the strike." Her squadron bombed the Telvin district into rubble. 8,000 civilians died, along with approximately 200 resistance fighters. Yunji watched the smoke rise from the ruins and felt nothing but a cold emptiness inside. This was what survival required. This was what protecting Earth meant. On the frontier world of Telrax, resistance leader Morven organized guerrilla attacks against Earth's occupation forces. His fighters struck at night, destroying supply depots and ambushing patrols. They killed 40 Earth soldiers in 3 weeks. Colonel Seojun, now overseeing occupation operations across multiple worlds, implemented a new policy: collective punishment. For every Earth soldier killed, 100 local civilians would be publicly executed. When Morven's fighters killed 3 more soldiers, Seojun selected 300 civilians at random from nearby settlements. They were brought to the central square and executed by firing squad, while cameras broadcast the event across the sector. "This is what resistance costs," Seojun announced during the broadcast. "Every attack on Earth's forces will be answered with civilian deaths. The choice is yours. Peace or extinction." The resistance movement collapsed within 2 weeks. Morven himself was captured, tried in a military tribunal that lasted 15 minutes, and executed. His body was displayed in the central square. As a warning, President Dayan addressed the United Earth Assembly from his office overlooking Geneva. The assembly chamber was full, with representatives from every nation on Earth watching via hologram. "There are those who question our methods," Dayan said. "They say we have become too brutal, too ruthless. They point to the civilian casualties, the collective punishments, the orbital bombardments. I understand their concerns, but I ask them to remember, the Council planned our extinction. They saw humanity as nothing but resources to exploit. Every harsh action we take now prevents a future where Earth is a dead world and humanity is remembered as a footnote in galactic history." Some representatives applauded. Others sat in uncomfortable silence. Representative Yuna from Korea stood up. "Mr. President, we have killed 300 million people. We have burned cities. We have executed civilians. At what point do we become the monsters we claim to be fighting?" Doyen's face was hard. "We become monsters the moment we let our guard down and allow Earth to be vulnerable again. I would rather be a living monster than a dead saint." "Representative Yuna, I understand your moral concerns. But morality is a luxury only the strong can afford. We must be strong first. Then, perhaps, we can afford to be good." The vote on Doyen's policies passed with 75% support. Earth's population, having seen the Council's plans for their planet, overwhelmingly supported whatever measures were necessary to ensure survival. Speaker Vector sat in his cell on Earth's maximum security prison station. The former leader of the Galactic Council was now a war criminal awaiting trial. Commander Jiwan visited him, not out of cruelty, but to understand. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why did you threaten Earth? We would have been peaceful neighbors." Vector looked at her with tired eyes. "Because you are weak. Or we thought you were. The Council has ruled for 3 centuries by dominating weaker species. It never occurred to us that you were pretending, that you had built an empire in secret while smiling and bowing. We did what we had to do to survive," Jiwan said. "So did we," Vector replied. "And we both became monsters in the process. The difference is you won." 3 weeks after the 72-hour deadline, every major Council species had formally surrendered. Earth established the Terran Galactic Compact to replace the old Council. The structure was simple. Earth maintained the largest military force and exercised veto power over all major decisions. Other species had internal autonomy, but their military capabilities were strictly limited. It wasn't a partnership. It was a dictatorship with a friendly name. But no one had the power to oppose it. Admiral Haijin stood on the observation deck of Terran Command Station, watching Earth patrol ships depart for the far reaches of the galaxy. Captain Minho joined her, his stealth missions finally complete. "We won," Minho said quietly. "Earth is safe." "Yes," Haijin agreed. "But at what cost?" 300 million alien deaths. 8,000 of our own. Our humanity, perhaps. Haijin turned to look at him. "If losing our humanity means Earth survives, then it's a price worth paying. Our children will live in a galaxy that fears and respects us. They'll never face extinction. That's what matters." Minho nodded, but he didn't look convinced. Neither did Haijin, really. But they were soldiers. They followed orders. They did what was necessary, and they would carry the weight of what they had done for the rest of their lives. The galaxy had a new order now, and Earth was its iron fist. 6 months after the war ended, journalist Bora sat in a small apartment in Seoul, staring at classified documents she wasn't supposed to have. She had been embedded with Earth's occupation forces as a civilian observer, writing stories about humanity's great victory. But something had bothered her. The war had seemed too perfect, too well planned. She had spent 3 months digging through military archives, bribing lower-level officials, and piecing together fragments of information. What she found shocked her to the core. Earth's military had been preparing for war with the Council for 20 years. Long before the Council's ultimatum. Long before they even knew the Council would threaten Earth. The entire Weak Humanity Act had been planned from the beginning. Earth had always intended to strike first. Bora contacted Admiral Haijin directly, requesting an interview. To her surprise, Haijin agreed. They met in Haijin's office at Terran Command. The Admiral looked older now, tired. She poured 2 glasses of whiskey and sat across from Bora. "You know," Bora said quietly, showing her documents, "the war wasn't self-defense. Earth planned this from the moment we met the Council. Haijin didn't deny it. She sipped her whiskey and nodded. Yes, from the moment we learned about the Galactic Council, we understood the truth. In a galaxy full of advanced species, humanity had two choices: dominate or be dominated. There was no third option. But the Council's ultimatum simply accelerated our timeline, Haijin interrupted. We would have attacked eventually anyway. The Council was too powerful, too complacent, and they saw us as primitives. Perfect targets. We studied them for 2 decades. We learned their weaknesses. We infiltrated their systems. We built weapons they couldn't imagine. By the time they threatened us, we had already won. Bora felt sick. So everything was a lie. The frightened diplomats. The requests for mercy. Commander Jiwan's nervous act. All performance, Haijin confirmed. And it worked perfectly. They never saw us coming. 300 million people died, Bora said. For a war we started. Haijin's eyes were cold. A war we would have lost if we hadn't struck first. You saw the Council's plans for Earth, strip mining our planet, enslaving our people. They would have destroyed us eventually. We just made sure we destroyed them first. Bora published her findings. The article spread across Earth's networks within hours. The response was mixed. Some people were horrified to learn that Earth had planned the war all along. Others argued it didn't matter, the Council would have attacked eventually, so Earth's preemptive strike was justified. President Doyon gave a speech addressing the controversy. He didn't apologize. He didn't deny anything. Instead, he doubled down. Yes, we prepared for war before we were directly threatened, Doyon said, because we understood something fundamental about the galaxy. Strength is the only thing that matters. The Council would have destroyed us eventually. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but someday. We chose to strike first and ensure Earth's survival. I would make the same choice again. The speech was approved by 80% of Earth's population. Humanity had decided survival came before morality. Always Captain Minho, now promoted to Rear Admiral, struggled with what Earth had become. He sat in a bar on Mars, drinking alone. Lieutenant Yunji, now a full commander, found him there. You look troubled, Yunji said, sitting down beside him. We're conquerors, Minho said quietly. Not liberators. Not defenders. Just conquerors who happen to be human. Yunji ordered a drink. Does it matter? Earth is safe. Our children will grow up in a galaxy where humanity is the dominant power. Isn't that what we wanted? I wanted Earth to be safe, Minho said. I didn't want us to become what we destroyed. The Council used fear and power to control the galaxy. Now we do the same. And it works, Yunji replied. Look at the galaxy now. No wars. Trade is flourishing. Species that were enslaved are free. Yes, they're free under our supervision, but they're free. We brought peace. We brought fear, Minho corrected. Peace maintained by terror isn't real peace. Yunji shrugged. Maybe not, but it's better than the alternative. Would you rather go back to being the scared primitives begging for Council mercy? Minho didn't answer. He couldn't, because she was right. Earth had won, and in the galactic game of survival, winning was all that mattered. The Vakari, Earth's allies during the war, found themselves in an uncomfortable position. Threnek met with Commander Jiwan to discuss their relationship. They met on the Vakari homeworld, in a government building that Earth's money had helped rebuild. You promised us independence, Threnek said carefully. And you have it, Jiwan replied. You control your own government, your own economy, your own society. Under Earth's supervision, Threnek noted, we're expected to vote with Earth in the Galactic Assembly to allow Earth military bases on our territory. to support Earth's policies. That's not real independence. Ji-Wan's face was sympathetic but firm. Threnek, you're free from council slavery. You have your own government again. Your people aren't forced laborers anymore. Yes, we expect cooperation. But the alternative is facing the galaxy alone, without Earth's protection. There are species that would love to reconquer the Vakari. We prevent that. Threnek understood. The Vakari had escaped one master only to become junior partners to another. But Ji-Wan was right. Earth's protection was valuable. The Vakari were free in every way that mattered, even if they weren't truly independent. Thank you for being honest, Threnek said finally. Many would have pretended this was true freedom. I respect you too much to lie, Ji-Wan replied. Earth rules the galaxy now, but we try to rule fairly. That's the best anyone can offer. Colonel Siajan oversaw the establishment of the Terran Galactic Compact, the new governing body replacing the Council. The structure was designed to look democratic while ensuring Earth's absolute control. Each species had representatives, could debate policies, and voted on internal matters. But Earth maintained veto power over everything. Earth controlled the largest military force. Earth stationed peacekeeping troops on strategic worlds. And if any species seriously opposed Earth's will, economic sanctions and military pressure quickly brought them back in line. It was a dictatorship with democratic window dressing. But it worked. The galaxy had peace, even if that peace came at the cost of freedom. Some species thrived under the new system. The Relians focused on trade and commerce, becoming wealthy by facilitating economic connections across the galaxy. They didn't care who ruled as long as business was good. Others, like the remains of the Thalorian Empire, lived in bitter resentment. Their pride was destroyed, their military reduced to ceremonial forces, their world occupied by human troops. But they lacked the power to resist. So they submitted and dreamed of a day when Earth might grow weak. Speaker, Vector's trial became a spectacle broadcast across the galaxy. He was charged with conspiracy to commit genocide against humanity, war crimes, and crimes against the Vakari and other conquered species. The evidence was overwhelming. Vector didn't deny the charges. Instead, he used his trial as a platform. Yes, I plan to exploit Earth, Vector said during his testimony. Because that's what powerful species do to weak ones. The Council did it for 3 centuries. Now Earth does the same. They bomb civilians. They execute prisoners. They rule through fear. The only difference between my crimes and theirs is that they won. The judges, all human, sentenced him to life imprisonment. Vector became a symbol of the old order's failure, a reminder of what happened to those who threatened Earth. Lieutenant Jongho left military service and joined Bora's journalism team. Together they traveled the galaxy, documenting the true cost of Earth's rise to power. They interviewed civilians who lost families in the bombardments. They spoke with resistance fighters who were tortured in Earth's prisons. They recorded the stories of species living under occupation. Their reports were published freely. Earth's government allowed criticism because they were confident enough to permit it. The military that had conquered the galaxy in 12 hours didn't fear journalists, but nothing changed. The reports were read, discussed, and ultimately ignored by Earth's government. Policy remained the same. Earth would maintain its grip on the galaxy because the alternative, being vulnerable again, was unacceptable. President Doyon sat in his office on his final day in power. His term was ending, and a new president would take over. He had won the war, established Earth's dominance, and ensured humanity's survival. History would remember him as the president who made Earth the galaxy's supreme power. But at what cost? He thought about the 300 million dead, the cities burned, the civilians executed, the species living under Earth's control. He had made choices that ensured Earth's survival, but he wondered what humanity had lost in the process. Was it worth it? He asked himself quietly. He didn't have an answer. Admiral Hygiene stood on the observation deck of Terran Command Station, watching ships patrol the galaxy. She was old now, ready to retire. Captain Minho joined her, as he often did. They watched in comfortable silence for a while. "Do you regret it?" Minho asked finally. "Which part?" Hyjin replied, "All of it. The war, the occupation, the 300 million dead.